The book of Revelation says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if you will open the door and invite me into your heart, I will come in, and I will live with you, and you will live with me." And you know, this morning, I know some of you might have some questions about whether or not this has taken place in your life. We're going to take a time for prayer. And I'm going to ask you to really try to make it real for yourself again. We stand before God who knocks at the door. He wants to come into our lives. He wants to deal with this self-will that has been the source of all of our trouble. He wants his will to rule over us in Jesus Christ. And you can say yes, or you can say no. Would you bow your heads in prayer? First of all, I'd like to talk just a moment to people with every eye closed now, every person trying to really know themselves to be in the presence of Jesus Christ. I want to say a word to people who feel that they are in God's will, that they have invited Jesus into their lives, and that they are in this moment in a growing relationship with him. And I'm going to ask you in just a moment if you would reaffirm your promise that Jesus will be all in your life. He will be the boss. But first of all, with your head bowed, on October the 8th, 1871, Dwight L. Moody preached to the largest congregation in Chicago that he had ever preached to. He preached on the question that the Roman ruler asked of the crowd at the trial of Jesus. As he asked them, "What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called Christ?" And then Dwight L. Moody finished his sermon by saying, "I want you to take this question home with you. I want you to carefully consider it for your own life. Next Sunday when you come back, I'm going to talk about Calvary and the cross. And I want you to be able to answer that question. What will I do with Jesus, who is called the Christ?" And then Sankey, the singer who was with him, stood up to sing the first verse of a hymn that had these words, "Today the Savior calls, for refuge fly. The storm of justice falls and death is nigh." But Sankey never finished his song, for just at that moment it was interrupted by whistles and bells and sirens and fire engines rushing down the street. And the next morning, Chicago was in ashes. And Sankey says, "I could never forget that. And I determined from that moment, that I would never stand before a congregation or a person. And if they were ready to face the real question about who was boss in their lives, I would press them for an answer." Because he never saw that congregation again. He never had the chance to confront them. Now, if you have accepted Christ, and in this moment of prayer, would just reaffirm that, "Lord, I do want you in every way to be the boss of my life. And I want to find out from the Bible and from prayer, what are your instructions?" With your heads bowed, your eyes closed, would you just raise your hand as an act of making this affirmation? Just raise your hand as a recommitment of your life to Jesus Christ to be the boss. Thank you. You may put them down now. Now, there are some here this morning who have maybe made decisions and fallen away from them. They have intended, but they have departed from their intention. And there are some who have never made a decision at all. Here in prayer, with every eye closed, I would like to ask you if you would like to come back into this relationship with Jesus, or if you would like to just invite him into your heart. I would like to ask you to raise your hand now in response to that.